Good morning, seculars, or afternoon or evening, whenever you're listening. I am your host, Sunny Secular, and this is my. I do this every week, right?
I know you will get it. You will
This is
get
my co-host, Fee. Say hi here.
Hi, and it is afternoon for me, so good afternoon.
Okay, afternoon. All right, it's afternoon here too. And welcome to Secular Minority Podcast, where we laugh and have fun.
Yes, we surely do.
On this podcast, we give a non religious humanist perspective on life. We engage in friendly discussions, share deconversion stories, testimonies, and we explore topics that are trending in social media for the week, of course. This is a safe place for all people. Your ethnicity, gender, orientation, pronouns, none of that is a problem here. We don't shun. We welcome your questions below in the comment section. And for everyone who doesn't know, Secular Minority has a website, secularminority.com. It's on all major platforms for the podcast. And I also put this visual on YouTube for people who rather watch videos. All right, so we have a great show today. The topic is, are most religious misogynistic? And we'll start with Fee. Since actually Fee brought up the topic for discussion this week, she sent a video to me. And in the video, there was a young gentleman who basically made a whole video assuming what atheists would say. So go ahead, Fee. Tell the tell everyone what the video was about and how we got into the subject.
Okay, so I must admit, I I love to hate to listen to this man speak. Every single video. Now, of course, we know that YouTube gives you recommendations. So he
Right.
comes up and I'm like, I'm not going to look at it, but he really does have some catchy titles, and they do catch my attention. I'm like, I'm not going to listen. I'm not, and then I press play, and then I get irritated, and then I send the video to you so you can also be irritated
Right.
along
Okay.
with me, because that's the kind of co-host that I am, right? So he had certain videos. He had one that said, should women become pastors or preachers or senior leaders in the church? So of course, being very pro woman myself, I decided, let's listen to this video. And he had certain points, and but one of the things that struck me, and it struck me in each of his videos that I've listened to, as I said, I love to hate him, so I keep listening. I don't want to, but I feel like, ugh. What struck me is, he said one of his first arguments was, okay, so he knows that people are going to say, what about women like Deborah, and what about women like Esther, and what about women like Miriam? They were leaders in the church, and so obviously it should be okay for women to lead churches. And then he said, what modern day Christians need to remember is that the Old Testament was written to Israel, which is God's people, and he was leading them in a particular direction. So that modern day Christians need to be careful about following the Old Testament. So then I was like, how they follow the Ten Commandments, which is in the Old Testament. They love to quote the book of Proverbs and Psalms, which is also in the Old Testament. So how do you decide what in the Old Testament you should is particularly for Israel, and what in the Old Testament modern day Christians should follow? Because even in the most recent video that I sent to you, which was on homosexuality, he quoted Leviticus 18:22. Of course, I'm sure we're all familiar with that argument. But that again is Old Testament, because Jesus never mentioned anything about homosexuality. So my thing is, there's always a lot of cherry picking in his videos.
Right.
He always decides, well, okay, when it's convenient, yeah, we can revert to the Old Testament, but beyond that, we should stick to the New Testament because that's the new covenant and Jesus Christ and whatnot. So there's but regardless, to answer the topic, in my opinion, yes, the Bible is misogynistic. The
Right.
entirety of most Abrahamic faiths are misogynistic because,
Right.
I mean, if you read from, if you follow us in our women's Bible study, you can see the utter disregard there is for females. I mean, it goes without saying they're disregarded. They're treated as property.
Right.
They're, I mean, and a lot of these stories they don't even have names.
Right.
They may, they're just whosoever's wife or whosoever's daughter, but most
Right.
of them don't even have an identity of their own unless it's integral to the story itself.
And the
You know,
crazy part is a lot of parts in the Bible, um, even they say that women are property and they disregard children who are women or females. I'm sorry, children who are
yeah,
females, babies that are females, but also there's something else creepy about it because when it comes to kill every man, woman, and child, they don't just say baby girl babies. They're killing all the babies. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So it goes beyond just a hatred for the female counterpart. It is it's like it's a hatred for anybody who's not them, if that makes any sense.
yeah,
Anybody
yeah,
who's
of
not a
course,
man. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And also in that video that you sent me, I did, take a few notes
Yes,
from that gentleman. We're not going to mention his name.
no, please, we're not sending
we
any
don't
traffic that
we
way.
don't want to send
No
him any
way,
traffic.
no way.
But one of the things that he brought up in his video, I don't like when and I'm going with basically when I was inside of the religion as well. I never did like when people said, well, what should we as Christians say? We should, as Christians, do. We as Christians. That always irritated me because it's like a us against them type of thing. And even though all atheists aren't the same, you're not going to find an atheist saying, well, you know what we as atheists should be saying to Christian. Nobody's saying that.
Yeah,
Nobody is putting a us. You know what I mean? We as
mm-hmm,
Christians should be saying or should be doing, because there is no should be. There's no
correct.
book to tell you what to do. There's no person to tell you what to do. Everybody does their own thing, and that's why even in atheism it's not perfect, but strong but
But
we do have critical thinking skills where we say, you know what, that doesn't sound right.
yeah,
Even if one of our own does something awful, like certain people on social media who's been saying stuff against trans,
right,
we all come out and say, you know what, we're not going to do that. We're not going to agree with you. This isn't going to happen.
right.
We have enough sense to say, well, even if it's somebody who claims to be a non-believer, if you say something that's fucked up, we're going to call you out on it.
Yep, yep.
And that
And that's the
always
way it
bothered
should
me.
be.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the way it should be. Because I was looking at a video recently and the guy was talking about his deconversion. He did a reenactment of the last time he would have gone to church and the interaction he had with the elder. I think he was a Mormon. Was that if you had to choose between a faith-based response and a thought-provoking response, you should always choose the faith-based response. And he said he just could not do that because if he has a question that would make people think,
Right.
he doesn't see why your faith shouldn't be able to stand up to critical thinking. Why does your faith rely on people being brain dead or people being brainwashed or people being indoctrinated? Why must your religious faith be like that? Because we try our best not to be brain dead in real life. We try to weigh the pros and the cons of everything. But when it comes to our religious faith, that is where we draw the line at critical thinking. And even if we think we're doing critical thinking, what we're really doing is a lot of confirmation bias, where, okay,
Exactly.
I already believe this, so I am going to find everything that already supports this. And I think that's the way every indoctrinated person, regardless of religious or not, whether it's anti vax, whether it's flat earth, whether it's what the hell ever they believe, there's so much out there, so much
Right.
crazy.
Exactly.
Whether it's the patriots or whatever, it all comes down to confirmation bias. And you can always find people to support your confirmation bias. And that's how we are as human beings. That's the way our brains work.
Right.
And I just wanted to go back into one thing you said that really struck me when you said it, with reference to kill every man, woman, and child, and they don't specify what type of child. A
Right.
lot of times in those scriptures, they say, but keep the virgins for yourself.
Right.
And that ties a lot into this whole purity culture thing, where a virgin woman, although still a woman and still considered property, seemed to have been more highly valued than a woman that was not a virgin, even back then, and continuing to today. Because with that whole red flag, green flag sensation that was happening on social media for a while. I remember, you know
It's
what I'm
still
talking about.
doing it on
It's
Twitter.
right. I
Red
saw,
flag.
right, which I think is hilarious. But when people bring it to real life and they're listing their green flags, they had their green flag as a virgin, as if not being a virgin is a big red flag. It's it's just a piece of flesh that gets torn. Some people aren't even born with it. It's really not that serious. Calm down with this whole love of the hymen thing.
And
I think
and and
it's
going back to going back to the topic, most religions being misogynistic. That second video, the people at home don't know about the second video. The second video that you sent me just a few minutes ago before we went
oh
on,
oh yeah, you talk about
he spoke about if a woman slept with
20
more than,
guys. That was his thing. 20 guys. Yeah.
yeah, she was dirty or
Used up.
used up,
Used
impure,
up.
dirty. But he, as a man, he gets a pat on the back. Oh, good job! You slept with 20 women. Now you're
Yeah.
ready for your
Yeah.
wife. But
Yeah.
your
Exactly.
but your wife can't be ready for you though.
Yeah. No. Practice makes perfect for him, but not for her. It's a double standard. It is. And all that traces back this whole purity culture, which again
To
came from
religion.
religion. Came from religion. And purity
Matter of fact,
culture.
he was using the Bible, wasn't he, for
Yes,
his for his
yeah, he
points?
he considers himself to be a prophet of God. And I will not go back on his page because again, I do not want to push. I don't want the algorithm to recognize because I surely don't want him to come up on my FYP.
Right,
I'll tell you that for sure.
right,
But I don't want the algorithm to send any. No, because
right.
that is he had some crazy stuff on his page. He had some crazy stuff like should you eat hot dogs, and then he's like, should you eat tuna sandwich from one of those major chains. He had some crazy stuff. I was like, let me get off this man page before the algorithm gives him any more favor. No, no.
And
And
it's
they, and
mighty
they
funny how the ones who always talk about if a woman is used up, more than likely they can't even get a woman anyway. Have you
could
seen
tell,
how they do
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Like really? Like you really worried about it?
Oh my god. And it's so it's so interwoven. Misogyny and sexism is so interwoven into most. Now, I can speak from a Christian perspective, and as such, I feel I can speak a little more broadly on the Abrahamic religions. I'm not so familiar with the Eastern religions, Buddhism and stuff. But it's so interwoven into the religion that they don't even realize how how present it is. It is
Right.
so present, as if there is some that women become less valuable the more mates they have, the more people they sleep with. Why is your value and your worth based on your body count? I hate that. but to use the term based on your body count. As a woman,
Right.
as a man, it's fine. I always remember home in Trinidad and Tobago. One of the sayings that my grandmom and my mom used to say is, and I'll say it in my own vernacular, and then I'll break it down. Is woman don't get bad name. That's what we say. I'm sorry, man don't get bad name. In other words, if a man is promiscuous, it is not an issue. He's just being a man. He's a stud. He knows what he's doing. If a woman does it, she's automatically shamed. She's called names. She's looked at differently. It's the walk of shame only when it's a woman leaving a man's house. Why it's not a walk of shame if a man leaving a woman's house at 3 o'clock in the morning? You
Right.
know what I mean? So
Exactly.
so that's what they always say. Man don't get bad name. Men don't get a bad reputation for sleeping around. Only women. It's so interwoven into society that, and I mean, at one point, I truly believed it because, as you know, I was raised in church. So I believe that, okay, obviously, if you're un, untouched,
Mhm.
it's only for your husband. It's all for your husband. He is the only one, and yeah, it was keep yourself pure for your
I remember
husband.
I remember when I was younger, this was a long time ago too. I think I was I think I was like maybe I want to say almost 10. But my great grandmother, no, yeah. Yeah. My great grandmother, I can remember when we went to her house to visit and she would give us, different talks or whatever. And she would always say, a man is going to take you if you have one kid, but he not going to take you if you have more than one. And I always believed it, but then when I got older, when I got older and started seeing for myself that there were women, and I'm not trying to say that race has anything to do with it, because I mean it may or it may not, but I always saw biracial women who had almost 10 kids and they still had boyfriends and people that wanted to marry them. So I knew that wasn't right what she said, what she said to me. But I mean, like you said, it goes back to religion because she was very religious.
Yep,
She was Jehovah's Witness. My whole family Jehovah's Witness.
right.
So for her to give us that message and not my brother, that's another
Yeah.
issue
So
by
doesn't
itself.
that speak volumes though? That speaks volumes. Think about it. That speaks volumes that you would get that talk, but then conversely, the boys were never told, well, listen, guys,
Right.
don't go getting women pregnant.
Right.
If you're not willing, and if you do get a woman pregnant, pay some child support. Be in your
Exactly.
child's life, even if you're not with the mother, be in your child's life. Why don't boys get that talk? They
Right.
don't have that talk, which is a critical piece of information that boys need to hear growing up. But no,
Right.
boys will always be boys. It always comes down to it. I mean, again, it's so interwoven that we don't even see it a lot of times. It's just accepted as the norm, you
And
know?
misogyny, it goes on in other aspects too outside of religion,
It
because
does.
if you notice, have you ever seen or known, which you probably have, but have you noticed that if a woman leaves a family, she's all kinds of names and she didn't love you. They'll tell the children all kinds of horrible things. But when men walk out, oh well, he was going through a hard time or he wasn't ready to be a father. Like really?
Right.
Maybe she
Yeah.
wasn't ready to be a mother.
Yep.
Because it's nothing
And it's
worse than
all
having a mother who's not ready to be a mother
to be a
and
mother.
she treats you like shit.
Yeah. And they're already regulating a woman's right to terminate, as you know, and that's a big
Yeah,
conversation right now. It's a
right,
big
right,
conversation. So a lot of times women are either forced or coerced or shamed into having children they just weren't ready for. And as I saw someone say, it's almost as if they're using, without saying it non-verbally, well, shame on you. You had sex, you got pregnant. Now, here's your punishment. Take this child whether you want it or not. And that is the message that you get at that whole regulating a woman's right to terminate or not.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. It's almost like if, well, shame on you, woman, because men wouldn't have that same issue. And yet still, it is men that are making these laws. And I will tell you straight, Sonny, I am having a serious problem with it.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Hmm.
And even in if you notice, even in um the movies, the movie industry, I've seen movies where the woman has walked out and the man is like disgusted with every woman he runs into because his wife walked out. The child starts getting the same grudge to the mother even when she does try to get in contact with the child and not him. The child has the same problem, and this is just on movies. You know what I mean? This is
Yeah.
just on movies, how it's portrayed on movies. But then when the guy leaves and has a whole nother family, oh well, he can just come back. That's fine.
Yeah, it is.
Don't
It
keep him
really
from
is a,
seeing his children. That's
is
fine.
there really is a serious double standard. And I remember, this is just a little side note, a little fun fact. I remember when I was younger, and I don't think my generation says it or believes it anymore, but the generations before, I remember now growing up, I was a little tomboy. So if my boy cousins were playing, I was playing. I was never one to be in the kitchen with my grandmother. She hated that, but that was just never me. I was never the cooking, cleaning. My sister
Right.
was, but I wasn't. So I'd be
Right.
outside with the boy cousins, and and
That,
they
that's kind of like me. I was like that too.
they right. You see, birds of a feather. And I remember my grandmother telling me that girls shouldn't climb. Let's say it was the plum tree or the mango tree.
Oh
Oh, you know it?
yes,
Do
I
you know
got that
it?
too. You should be
Oh,
climbing trees. Why you always playing with the boys? Like, cause the
right.
girls are boring.
Yeah, I know. But we went a step further, and they said that if a girl climbs whichever tree, the fruit will be sour. So girls shouldn't
Oh, I
climb the
didn't
plum
hear that
tree.
one.
Yeah, girls can shouldn't climb, let's say, the plum tree or the mango tree because the fruit will be sour. And
Wow.
that is the message that we were raised with. For those of us that will spend a
So
lot of time with
just
our
cause you
grand.
touched it, huh? It was ruined.
Yes, it was ruined by my whole being a female. Damn my gender. Damn, damn being a female. It's wrong. We
You
can
ruined
affect
a whole
fruit
tree
and the whole crop.
just
I
by
didn't know if
touching it.
just yep. And that was the message. So even as a child, subconsciously you had this message that okay, you contaminated the tree with your femaleness because the guys, it's fine. Boys could climb the tree, but not girls. Girls will make the fruit sour. So there you go.
How do you feel about women who uphold the patriarchy? Now, we already expect it from women who are in church. That's how they say it. I go to church. I go to church. But there are other women too who I am a religious woman. I'm a woman of God, and God speaks to me, and so if I'm supposed to stay at home, I'm perfectly fine with that. I could stay at home. I mean, do you feel that their message is a good message, or is it something that's good for them? But why do they have to push it on other people?
Yeah, and that's religion for you. Religion, in my opinion, really does force its ideas and its behaviors on other people. And I think those women are truly, truly indoctrinated, whether it's through religious faith or upbringing. I think they truly are indoctrinated, and they believe, just like it says, like Paul says, that a woman's place is in their home.
Right.
And just like my Jehovah Witness friend sent me the little picture, Jehovah is first, then Jesus, then the man of the house, then the woman, then the children. That's
Right.
the hierarchy of a Christian home, according to the Jehovah's Witness. And the other religion isn't much different. The man is the head of the home, and the woman is the helper. So women should be home helping, aka cleaning, cooking, and taking care of the children.
And that's what I was just pulling up something here on my phone,
Mhm.
and it says here of course, counter arguments. It says here that it's not really misogyny in the Bible. This is I think it's a Wikipedia page. It
Right.
says it's not really misogyny in the Bible. It's just that women have different roles.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my
How do
God.
you feel about that one?
What? What?
That irritates me too. The know your role. I don't have a
Mm.
role.
Eh,
If I cook for you, it's because I want to cook for you and I
yes.
enjoy cooking. If I clean for you, it's because you're not there and I am. So I might as well pick up your clothes while I'm picking up my own.
If I
But I
feel
don't have
like
a
it.
role.
I don't have a role. Correct. Correct. And I think, I mean, I don't know. I don't know statistically, and I'm not going to broad brush anyone because I don't know, especially in the US. I don't know what roles are now, you know, whether it's still seen as the traditional roles for women and for men. But I could speak in my household, we have no traditional roles.
Right.
Everyone, and I have my son, my husband, and myself. It's three of us. And
Hmm.
everyone does everything in this house because my husband and I both work. So if he comes home and I, babe, make a salad, he, as a matter of fact, he alone makes the salads because I don't have the patience to stand there and cut things. I don't have that patience. And he does a fabulous job. But I'll do the bulk of the cooking. But that is not because it's my role, but like you said, because I enjoy it. And if I were to wait for my husband to cook, it would take 3 hours to make one meal, and he'd use every single pot in the kitchen, and then I'd have to clean it. So it just makes more sense that I do it. But
and,
it's
and
not a
and
role. It's just
exactly.
that's the way we have always been. And my son is the same way. If there's dishes to be done, he'll do it. If the yard to be swept, there's no rule, and we've always been that way from day one. So,
And
and
that's
I
what I
think
want
that's
to
how.
mention too. What about
Yeah.
even people who claim that they have roles? There are a number of reasons why the role can be reversed. Somebody could have cancer and he has to do the work.
Yep.
If there's somebody could have a disability, somebody could have depression. And this is speaking from experience. My mom, she had depression by the time I was a teenager. I think I was 12 or 13, major depression. And my dad cooked for us. He got in the kitchen, and even to this day, we'll be like, remember when we were little and you used to make spaghetti and you used to put sausage in it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we'll all laugh at everything because he wasn't a chef, but he did what he had to do because we had to eat.
Yeah. And I think that gender rules is ridiculous. Because think about it. If it's almost impossible nowadays to have one job or one income. Even if you're a single person, you have another stream of income, whether it's a couple hours, whether it's a podcast, whatever it is. There's a second stream of income. So, like for a two-person household, it's impossible to live on one income. We found that
Right.
out the hard way with the pandemic,
Right.
right? So, a woman is expected to also bring in an income. She works, let's say, 8 to 4. But prior to that, she has to still get up and make breakfast and lunch and then come home, take care of the kids, make dinner, prep and but the guy is just expected to work 8 to 4 and then come home and what?
And
Sleep?
nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So even with the so-called roles, as I heard someone say, back in the day, women weren't expected to work so that they would care for the home, but the men were expected to work and provide and protect. That's like way back in the day. So
Hmm.
nowadays, these little fragile guys want to say, "What are you bringing to the table?" But they expect you.
Oh my
I
goodness.
knew, I knew that would trigger you. I knew that would
Oh.
get you. I just knew it.
Oh,
I knew
we're
it.
not gonna even get on that. That's a whole nother show. That is another show. What do you bring to the table? Oh my goodness. Yes, that is a whole nother show. We're gonna have to write that one down.
Write that one down. I haven't. Of course, I've been off of the dating market for a while, but I swear that has to be the most audacious
What do
question
you bring to the table?
anybody could ask another person. And if any of our listeners listen carefully, do not ever ask someone that question. That is so audacious. We'll put that down for another show
If
because
you don't see the value in someone without asking them what do they bring to the table, then you probably don't need to be dating in the first place.
that's right. Work on yourself. You need to
You
work on yourself.
you don't value people. You don't value people.
I knew that phrase would trigger you. I
And
knew it would.
it's always a one-sided thing because I have seen for myself with friends in the past that what do you bring to the table? The woman will jump over all kinds of hoops, go to school, get educated, all of this stuff to bring something to the table and let that man lose his job. He will be sitting on that couch for over 2 years and dare you to ask him what do he bring to the table.
But there's this page that came up on TikTok for me, and he's actually a stay-at-home dad. Him and his wife decided that her income was enough, and he decided he wanted to stay home with the children. They had
Yeah,
two. They
because you
ended
don't
up
have to
having
pay for
twins.
daycare.
Yeah, so they had two,
Yeah,
a pair of twins, young children, and
right.
he said so they post their stuff, and he said that they get so much hate because of that role reversal where she's the breadwinner and he's home
I
taking
see
care
him
of the
when he posts
family.
the comments. I know who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, and he's
Yeah.
proud of it. He's like, okay, let's see what toxic masculinity has to say today. He really doesn't care. He's like, but take out the garbage. Let's see what toxic masculinity has to say today.
Right.
And he really is challenging the whole tradition of gender roles
Right.
with just his page, and I'm here for it. I love it. I love it so
Right.
much. I love it. His page is hilarious.
Okay, so it was something I wanted to bring up from that previous video that we spoke about earlier
Yeah.
about misogyny in the Bible. One of the things that guy brought up, he was talking about he basically enforced the fear of hell. He used hell as a means of getting his point across and talking about how, women's supposed to submit to men.
Do you see that word? That
That's
word.
that's
That
another
word
show. That's another show
hits.
too.
Yeah, that word hits me the wrong way. That word hits me like obedience hits me. That word hits me the absolute wrong way. I have to tell you that.
But
Oh, okay.
one of the things that I wrote out was that um why do you feel like you have to use any type of punishment in order for you to do what you need to do?
Yeah.
Why is everybody so scared? The religion that I was brought up in, they never believed in hell anyway. So I don't have the same kind of fear
Oh,
that
that's
other
so
people
good.
have.
Mhm.
No, it's not good.
Well, no, okay. It's not good. Wrong choice of words. The fact that they didn't scare you to death with
Right,
hell.
right, right. Okay,
I
okay,
mean,
okay.
everything else was crap, but that
Right.
aspect, because let me tell you, the fear of hell stays with you even as you deconvert, even as you're no longer a believer. The fear of hell, when it's been drilled into you from childhood, it stays with you for a long time. A long time.
And
Yeah, sorry.
how do you feel that the using of hell helps women to stay in their place?
Stay in line. Ugh. I hate the idea. Okay, first first of all, I see that as it must be some form of psychological abuse. If we have any therapists listening, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but that has to be some form of psychological abuse, because the fear of being burnt for an eternity because of that idea of submission is crazy. It is crazy. So you're telling me that an all loving God will send someone. Oh, sorry, God doesn't send anyone to hell. Will allow someone. That's what they say. Will allow someone to burn for an eternity. That means forever and then some. Simply because they strongly disagreed with some kind of archaic verse in an old ass ancient book. That can't be sitting right. That don't sit right with me. Mm-mm. No. That I think that's some kind of, if you hear a lot about gaslighting and stuff. That have to be some kind of psychological
Gaslighting,
abuse. It
exactly,
has to
exactly.
be.
That's what it is. And then also, something else that he used in that video, for people who didn't agree with him or was passive about it, he used the "not a real Christian"
Yeah,
type.
I think he said that he said that thermometer Christians and thermostat Christians. And I'm like,
Right,
what the hell are you even saying? I'm in Trinidad. I
right.
don't know the difference. We,
Yeah, he was basically alluded to the fact that if you're the Christian who is okay with the LGBTQ community,
right.
then you're not a real Christian, because a real
Yeah.
Christian would say something about it.
About it. Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, so a real Christian is a bigot
Yeah.
according to his
Obviously.
standards.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. And what got me in that same video is when he said go, you will not go to hell for being a homosexual. You will go to hell for not accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. So I thought to myself, so if a homosexual accepts Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, then he should be fine to go to heaven.
Well, no, he also said that they're not supposed to act on it.
Oh, they're not supposed to act
Yeah,
on
he
it.
said he
Right.
said they could be homosexual, just don't act on it.
Don't act on, which is crazy. Which is crazy. So imagine you're in a long-term relationship with your significant other who happens to be of the same sex as you. And well, he said they shouldn't be married. But let's say you are in a long-term relationship. And so you either have to give up that relationship or abstain from any kind of sexual relation just to ensure, because a loving God who made you this way will send you to hell for being the way he made you. Because in that same video, he said that God made man and woman and something about procreation. I was like, oh my God. The
And
video was just 5 minutes and it
right,
annoyed the hell out of me.
exactly. We got all these points out of 5 minutes.
Five
Um,
minutes.
but when you brought that up, that was interesting too, because I did a previous podcast about what a family should be, and I
Right.
spoke about same-sex marriages. Because it goes back to what we said earlier, you need two incomes. So what does it matter if it's two of the same sex or not? As
Right.
long as it's two people there that's there to protect the child, to make sure the child has what they need, it
Support
shouldn't
the
matter.
child, give the child love. I mean, come on.
I saw a show last night. I saw a show last night. I'm not gonna mention what the show was because I don't want to get any strikes or anything. But in this show, I started laughing because the guy that was on there was bisexual. He had a certain look, and from his look, I already knew he was Mormon before he said it. His religion was Mormon, and I said I knew it. For some reason, they look alike. They're like really pale with the red hair or the blonde hair, and they just look. It's just
Are there black
weird.
Mormons? Are there minority Mormons?
There
Hmm.
are, but I don't
Okay.
understand why. Because before 1974, they
Yeah,
said that
correct.
blacks were curses.
Yeah.
So I'm not understanding.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't get it either. And
But
it's what's interesting. Sorry, finish. You finish your
oh,
point.
okay. But the reason why the guy had me laughing was because in so many words he explained how he had to hide what he was because of the Mormon religion and what his parents would say. And I laughed because I've heard so many other stories of the same thing. People are so suppressed, which leads to drinking,
Yeah.
which leads to anger, because of the fact that they can't be who they are. They have to hide it for religious sake or what the church will say or what the parents will say or what anybody else will say besides what they need to get out. If it
Yeah.
was more people who weren't afraid to say what they are, then maybe it wouldn't, it wouldn't be suicides as much as it is,
I
or
was just about to say that.
alcoholism as much as it is, or drug use. There are a lot of ex-Mormons who used to be on drugs. There are a lot of
I'm not surprised.
ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who drink a lot, and it all goes back to the same thing. It's because these rules are just choking the shit out of you, expecting you to be something that you can't possibly be
You
because
can't be.
a man made it up in the first place.
That's right. That's right. And it's interesting. There is he has a really great channel. Um, I forget his name. He's worth mentioning, but I just can't remember his name. Oh, Reacteria. Reacteria. That's the name of the channel on YouTube. He's a scientist, a biologist, a scientist, and he's an evolutionary biologist. So I follow him on YouTube. I also follow him on TikTok because I really, really like that he explains everything, and he also does a lot of debunking
Uh-huh.
of Christian videos, which I love.
Right.
And one that I saw last night, he was saying that I want to say it's 50,000. He said there are over 50,000 species that exhibit homosexual behavior
Right,
in
right.
nature,
So for
in
people
nature
to say it's
itself.
not natural,
So
yeah,
yeah,
I
he
saw
said,
that
how can you
one.
say that? And he said even the bonobos, which is our closest relative, they are at the very least bisexual. So it's actually present in nature. It's there. It's how can it be unnatural, which is what they love to say, it's unnatural because God created man and woman, blah blah blah. How can it be unnatural if it's found in nature? These are instinctive things. These are animals, and insects are instinctive. They don't have the thought processes we have. So that means it's innate, it's intrinsic. And what he said is it must have some ecological value. They haven't figured it out yet, but there
Right.
must be some reason, some extension, something for the species to survive. So it must, if it's in nature, throughout nature like that, why is it unnatural for human beings? It can't possibly be unnatural. And it's time for us to let go of this nonsense, of a misinterpreted, misinterpreted, intentionally rewritten portion of scripture that has no reason being there until what we would consider recent history within the
Right.
second, third, or fourth century. Recent history. It was inserted in there, it was rewritten, redacted, and inserted in there just because maybe at the time homosexuality was out of style.
Right.
Let's put it
Right.
that way. It wasn't trending. It
Out of
wasn't
stuff.
trending back then. So let's just make a note. And you know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? It's time for
Yeah.
us. It really is. I mean, come on. Come on.
And also, I can say too for myself, if from experience, I also being in that Jehovah's Witness, by being told, okay, if you have those thoughts, even the thoughts, if you had those thoughts, then it was we weren't. You're gonna get shunned regardless. If you have those type of thoughts, and you, especially if you do anything
Ooh,
like
act on it.
homosexual or
Yeah.
yeah, homosexual or anything like that, then you would, face being put out by your family, by the church, by the, things like that. But even to have the thoughts would be considered wrong.
Yeah. Well, we know
And how
about
can you
pork
control
pens.
people's thoughts?
Yeah. But they, even in the New Testament, they said that if, I mean, they were talking about man and woman, but he said even thinking about it is the same as committing adultery. No, it's not. It's a thought.
and
It's a
also
thought.
too and also too, when you're in that type of environment where everybody is like, of the same church. With Jehovah's Witnesses, you weren't allowed to talk to anyone else who wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. You weren't allowed to have any friends who weren't Jehovah's Witness. You're certainly not
Really?
supposed to marry anybody that's not a
Well,
Jehovah's
yeah.
Witness.
Mm.
Yeah. So, we couldn't go to, like, I had to beg and beg and beg to go to one game which was our homecoming game because we weren't allowed to converse with other people who weren't Jehovah's Witnesses. Okay, so that
Really?
was yeah.
What?
Our rules being brought up a Jehovah's Witness is be entirely different than somebody who just becomes a Jehovah's Witness. I'll tell you that right now.
Really?
But
Sorry,
for
I'm
back
shocked as
then, for
shocked as
back
hell.
then in the 80s, if I'd have known what I know now, I probably would have ran away a long time ago. Because even as a kid, I used to. And for people who don't know, you finna know now. I always considered myself androgynous because like now I can have braids and look kind of feminine, and then I can wear a buzz cut, and you be like, "Dang, she looks just like a boy, a cute boy." I know, I know that. I've always been able to go both ways.
Right.
Um, as a kid, I had crushes on girls, but because of the religion, I could never say anything. I couldn't say anything. Oh wow. You can say which. Okay, let me take this back. You can say that somebody is cute. We all did that. Oh, you're cute. Or your outfit
Yeah,
is
of
cute.
course.
But if you have a crush on somebody, oh, you better not ever bring that up.
Yeah. Oh
My very
no.
first crush when I was a kid,
Tell me. Oh, come on. Give me that sauce.
when
Come
the
on. Come.
brat came out, she was a rapper, and I, I was like, "Who is that?
Right.
A woman rapper? What?"
Really? Oh,
When
I'm
the
loving
brat,
this. I am loving this story so much.
but by the time now this is a little kid when I had the crush on the brat. I didn't actually switch over until I was in the eighth grade. In the
Right.
eighth grade was when I liked my first boy.
Right.
Eighth grade. Before then,
Yeah. But you could never express it. That is so sad.
and I was told, "Oh, you're just a late bloomer." Do they get you with that? Oh, you're just a
Oh
late
yeah.
bloomer.
Yeah.
You're just a late bloomer.
And I believe. Well,
What
I
if
again.
what if I wasn't a late bloomer? What if I just liked both of them?
What if I'm blooming all over the damn place and y'all just not seeing all my blooms? What the hell?
I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know that you could like both of them back then.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, neither. That wasn't a thing for us. That wasn't a thing. And I mean, if first of all, in Trinidad, it's even worse, right? I was raised. I mean, being religious, I will admit it. I was very homophobic because hey, same thing.
I
Um,
was too,
Eve was
because
made.
of what I
It
was
was
taught.
Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. I was raised with that whole thought process, and God created man and woman, and God created woman for man, and I mean, I was raised that way, and I was always told that God hated homosexuals, God
Yeah,
hated
me
the
too.
gays,
Right.
So they just even if there was a thought of well, maybe I would like to explore, no, there would be no. And I went to an all girls school. I went to a convent. I went to an all girls school, and you'd always hear whispers about girls being with girls, and I always thought, oh my God, no, they are going to burn in hell for their sinful ways, and
He
let me not
said
even
it
be
go burn.
friends. They will burn in hell. I don't even want to be friends with anybody. Like I remember there was this one girl, but she was so nice, and
Right.
she was a Muslim, but she could not say anything. So it was only in school because we were all just hanging out that she mentioned it, and I was like, ooh, I need to stay away from you. You're nice, but ooh, you're gonna burn it. Well, she was gonna burn in hell anyway because she was a Muslim. So just another reason to burn in hell,
And
in
to
my
be
opinion.
and to be honest, even when I was in my 20s and I started having, my kids, I have kids now. Well, they're adults, but even when I was
Yeah.
in my 20s and I had kids, every boyfriend I had was like, it seemed like you was looking at her. And I'm be like, what you talking about? Try to play it out. What are you talking about? I'm not looking at her. Yes, I
Right?
was.
Yes, you would. You know you would.
Yeah, I was. You know, on TikTok where they say, for all of you who used to say that I was bisexual back in high school, and then
Right.
they say you was right.
Yeah, but the thing is, there was no way you could have said. First of all, you grew up in a very strict religion, so there's no way you bring that up. And then we grew up in a time. I mean, I'm dating us. I'm making us sound
Yeah.
super
Okay.
old,
Right.
but we grew up in a time where that just was not acceptable. I
And
mean,
AIDS scared everybody.
yes,
They
that's the
used
next
that
thing.
too. They was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
you're gonna get AIDS. You're gonna
yeah,
get
that's the
AIDS."
homosexual disease. Yeah, yeah, you are right. There was so much misinformation, and that's one thing I really, really do. I mean, people always talk about the Gen Zs and whatnot, but I really do like how they're willing, for the most part, to express their individuality regardless. Whether it's with their pronouns, whether it's with their dress code, whether it's with their speech, they're not afraid to
Come out of the
get
box.
they don't even want to come out of the box. They want to just destroy the box. And that
Yeah.
is one thing. They don't even want to see a box. The box is nothing to them. That is one thing I really, really, really like. They are way more open-minded. And I think, of course, they are born in the least religious time in history.
Right.
Because you're seeing a lot more people falling away from organized religion and traditional religion. So that probably helps as well. Um, this what is it called? Soft parenting. What is the new style of parenting?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
you
I
know.
wanted to bring that up too because it wasn't until I did my research and I learned about that there literally is a scale. You could be on one end, you could be on the other, you could be
Yeah,
somewhere between. You know, there literally is a scale when it comes
yeah,
to
it's
sexuality or preference or things like that.
right.
It was after I learned about that, then I started changing the way I thought. The one thing that I regret when I was religious, I have, and this is crazy. Out of the three adult children that I have, one of them is the one who's still who's homophobic, who is like no, 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 that's wrong. But he's not even religious, and he's like that.
Oh.
I'm not understanding. I'm looking at him like,
Yeah.
did
What?
I
What
do
did I?
that? I don't understand how just one of them came out like that and the other two didn't. And that's kind of like one of my regrets because I'm like, I'm wondering, did my old mindset do that?
Is it your eldest?
No,
Oh,
no.
that's even more strange.
It's the youngest.
Oh, okay. Okay, well then no. I don't know. Can't
But
help you with that one.
that could be a product of environment as well. People
True.
don't take that into consideration. It
Very
could be
true.
something that I ingrained and didn't know it when he was a baby. Because
Right.
back then I was still in the church. Touch.
Right. Church.
It could have been that, or it could have been just a product of environment. Because as you know, they always have that masculine is this, feminine is that, women
Yeah.
is this, men is that. And I really can't stand none of that stuff because I've never traveled those lines. I've always tried to. There are pictures of me when I have on my pink and the long hair and the lashes and the makeup and the well, I never was a nails person. I never could stand. I never could stand the nails because I couldn't do anything in them. But you know what I'm saying? I did try to fall in line until I realized it doesn't matter if you fall in line or not. If somebody wants to treat you bad, they're gonna treat you bad regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
So you
And at
might
the
as
end of
well
the
be
day,
yourself.
you are who you are. You are who you are, and it's just accept people as they are. Whether or not you agree, well, people don't need your approval, they don't need your agreement, they don't need, and they just need you to let them be who they are and express who they are. And I remember hearing one of the hosts, I think it was Matt Delahunty, and that for some reason was like mind blowing when he said to a caller, and he was like, "Do you think you as a heterosexual male can be attracted to another man?" And the caller was like, "No." So then he was like, "So why do you think a homosexual man could just switch it off and choose to be attracted to a female? It's not like you could just switch it on and off if you're not that way. If you're attracted to men, it's because you're attracted to men. There's no way you could just be like, oh, okay, I'm homosexual today, but I'll be heterosexual tomorrow. It's not a
Right.
choice. Unless you identify as gender fluid or bisexual or whatever, you can't just switch it on and off. You can't. It's not a choice. It literally isn't for most of them. Those that I identify that way, and that for some reason blew my mind. It blew my mind.
I'm gonna see if I can find it. But I believe there was a TikToker who had something like that on his thing where he said, oh, I wonder if I kept it. Where he asked, when did you decide to be straight?
Right.
And I was like, man,
Think about it. Think about
whoever
it.
thought.
That is, to me, that was mind blowing. That changed, that simple thing changed my mind, changed my view on everything so quickly. And it allowed me to do more research, actual reading and actual research, and realize that it really isn't as black and white as I
Right.
was raised to believe. It really isn't. It's
And
not.
I'm
It's,
looking down because I'm really trying to find it because I think it'll
yeah.
be good if I can find if I can
Okay.
find it and play it.
So you find that. Let me bring up my scripture verse for
Oh
today.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We have
So
here.
while you
Okay,
look,
so for
while you
everybody
look
who
for
don't
that,
know, we
yeah,
always have misogyny in the Bible with Fiona,
yeah,
and we
I love
have
it.
hit the 1 hour mark. Well, it's actually 56 minutes, so it is time.
It's time. So
Fee,
while
go
you
ahead
look,
and bring the
yeah,
scriptures, which you can bring more than one if you want to, because it ties into the subject.
subject. Okay. So I know a lot of times we say, well, those scriptures that I bring up, Genesis, Exodus, that's Old Testament for you. We're under the new covenant. Okay. So I'm going to read this scripture from the book of Matthew, and it's Matthew chapter 15 and verse 22 and onward. A Canaanite woman came from that vicinity. Oh, I'm reading the NIV version.
Okay.
Sorry for those of you that love the King James version. Although the NIV is not the greatest, but it'll do for today. A Canaanite woman came from the vicinity. That from the vicinity came to him crying out, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon possessed and suffering terribly." Verse 23. Jesus did not answer a word. So his disciples came to him and urged him, "Send her away, for she keeps crying after us." Kind of rude, Jesus, but okay. He answered. That was kind of rude. He didn't even bother to answer. But he answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel." Then, chapter 25, verse 25. The woman came and knelt before him. "Lord, help me," she said. He replied, "It is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs." Okay, Jesus. Dick move, Jesus. "Yes, it is, Lord," she said. "Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." So, first of all, she was a Canaanite woman. And if you know anything about the history,
So he called her
the
a dog.
that's what I said. You heard it too. You saw it too. I thought I thought it was just me that would see that. I am like, hold up. Did he just call this woman a dog? Yes, he did. For all of you Jesus lovers that think meek and mild, gentle Jesus, meek and mild, that is what he said. And the thing is, Israel, they were, well, according to the Bible, they were against the Canaanites, so that they weren't allowed to marry from the Canaanites. They weren't allowed to trade, but they were allowed to take the Canaanites as slaves, of course, because, Bible. But they
Of
weren't allowed to
course.
mix, they weren't allowed to marry. So Jesus literally said, it's not right to take the crumb, to take the bread that's meant for the master and give it to the dogs. How could you call? I swear, I would have. I mean, I know it's Jesus and all,
Or
but
at the
I would have.
least, Or at least he was saying that she was less than a dog.
She was less than, yes, and I'm like, how is it that no one ever saw this? I never saw it. I didn't see it until I started doing this research. And I'm like, Jesus literally calls this woman and her people, by extension, dogs, because he didn't come to them. And I could never understand how Christians think that Jesus was all encompassing for everyone. No, he literally said, I came to the lost sheep of Israel. He didn't come for everybody. He didn't.
Right,
He didn't.
exactly.
He
That and
came
that's
for
my
his
problem
people.
too. That is
Yeah.
this sectional, type of thing where this person is okay and this person is not.
Yeah. hmm and there's a lot of that in the Bible. There is a lot of that
It,
in the Bible, but
yeah.
we don't see it. We don't see it when we're in it. But it's there. It's there. And there's one more. There's one more. I have to bring up this one because that one was pretty short. Japheth's daughter. I remember asking my I remember asking, I can't remember if it was my sister-in-law, and she didn't have an answer for me
Okay.
as to why this was okay. Oh, I think it's in the book of Judges. I
You know,
really need
since
to
you
brush up on my Bible.
since you brought that part up though about the division between different nationalities of people, I don't even know if you call it nationality. Is Israelites, is that a nationality?
Yeah, I should think so. It is. Yeah.
Okay, so the separation of nationalities, that kind of crosses over, the religious mindset crosses over now into politics, when people say, oh well, you can't listen to Democrats because of X, Y, and Z. You can't listen to Republicans because of X, Y, and Z. Everything is
Right.
division. You're either divided because of politics, you're divided because of religion, you're divided because of men or women. You're divided because, like we talked about
Race.
last week, light skin and dark skin. You're
Yeah.
you're divided because of everything. It's like a division. Gun holders against no gun holders.
Yeah, yeah, and that goes back to what I think the initial tribal. It's amazing how far we've come, but yet still we remain so tribal in a lot of the things that we say and do. Because
Right.
even within minorities, and I know it's like that in Indian system. I know it's like that amongst the blacks, light skin versus dark skin, and as if a light skinned black person is of more value than a dark skinned black person. And by extension, a dark skinned black person find themselves a little bit more defensive around a light skinned black person. I'm like, listen to me. We all black. And I didn't know about it until, you know, um, someone within my sister got married and he was dark. He's dark compared to us, and she said that he had a lot of mental blocks against it because apparently he was treated differently because he was a dark skinned black person, and we didn't see it because
The
what the hell.
the psychology is very bad too, because on that show that I talked about earlier with the Mormon who came out as bisexual, the show yesterday that I
Right,
watched, there was also another contestant on the show who was a dark skinned male. And through the entire show, I was getting irritated at him because of the fact that you can see the internal hatred that was put on him. He's expressing it to other people. So what he did was he went and he talked about how he had a hard time when he was younger because he was as dark as he was. He was very dark, and
right,
he said that they made fun of him because he had a large nose and large lips and things like that.
right,
But on the switch hand, every time he made a joke to try to liven the mood, it was, oh, because I leave. And he said that out of his own mouth. Oh, because when I sweat, I leave dark puddles or chocolate puddles, is what he called it. And I was like, you don't see the problem in that. But he, of course, he thought it was funny. Ha 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 ha. When I sweat, I leave chocolate puddles. And I'm like, no, that's showing that you have been damaged as a child and you're still expressing it as an adult.
Yep, that is
And then
very
and then
true.
there was another part in the show where I guess they were asking him about his competition for the show, the other guys on the show. And he was saying, well, he said, I kind of feel insecure because I'm a little, plumper than them. And he said, this light skinned guy over here with the good hair, that's also internal, that's coming out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you see and again, that's a big thing in Trinidad. I can't speak for Tobago, but in Trinidad, because as I always say now, well, of course, my hair is 100% natural. I've been on a natural hair journey for like 4 years,
Yeah.
and I love my natural hair. But growing up, I started. I think y'all call it permanent. We say relaxing
Yeah,
our
I
hair,
have.
my hair, um, at the age of 12 because my hair was thick, it was long, but it was coarse. And my mom was not into doing all these plaits. She was
Yeah.
not into cornrows.
My
She
mom
was
didn't want
not
to do our
into,
hair either. Yeah.
yeah, so I always thought my hair was unruly. I always thought my hair was, it couldn't be styled. I always thought, basically, you learn to demonize your own hair,
Yeah.
So when I started my natural hair journey for almost 5 years ago, I was, black hair don't grow, black people hair don't grow. You always hear that nonsense. You can't comb our hair because our
Until
hairs
the
break.
natural hair community came out in
Yeah,
2000s and showed, it's called shrinkage. When you
yes,
pull it down, it was
and
long and then it popped back up.
you know and now when I mean, I wear my hair in twists all the time because just like my mom, I'm not good at combing my own hair. But when it's out, and I tell my husband all the time, like I took it down last week, I'm like, I love my hair so much. And that in and of itself was such a big milestone for me. um just just the idea of seeing it grow, taking care of it, twisting it, condition, treating my hair with love and respect, and seeing it respond. And that was a big milestone for me. And people like, oh, your hair is so beautiful. Yes, my hair is beautiful, and it's unrelaxed, and there's no chemical in there, and I love it. I do, I really do. So I mean, and that's a big thing for a lot of black people that wearing
Right.
their natural hair. You know, did you ever find what you were looking for? Did you find it?
Nobody, I'm still looking. But did you find the
Well,
scripture you wanted to share?
well, I'm thinking, um, I'll just give the synopsis. We can talk more about it maybe next week. But this
Okay.
one is Jephthah's daughter. I think it's Jephthah is how you pronounce it. And basically, he made a deal with God because back in the day, God was into making deals, right?
Mm.
Like if God did something for you, you would have to do something for him,
A conditional
because
love.
yeah, because back in the day, God was into that.
Which they claim he wasn't.
He wasn't, but he was. So Jephthah said, okay, if you help me to win this war, of course, there was a lot of war back then, but that was normal. If you help me to win this war, I would give to you the first sacrifice
Oh
of, I think,
yeah.
who comes out
It's
of my household. Say
yeah,
it,
I
you can
remember
say it.
that.
And lo and behold, who do you think would be the first to come out of his household when he got back home? Guess. Can you
His
guess?
daughter.
Do you think it was his son? It wasn't his son. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was his daughter. So then he was so grief stricken, like, oh my God, I made this deal and now I have to hold up my end. So he allowed her to go away for 4 months to prance and enjoy herself with her friends, maybe have a good time.
I thought it was a couple of years because I think I remember in that story that he stalled for a long time.
Right. Oh,
He
oh, really?
stalled.
I
I was like, oh, he's stalling now because he knew
but
it was wrong.
he He knew it was wrong. But at the end of the day, he still didn't do. He still sacrificed his daughter, physically killed his daughter in honor of God.
And I couldn't understand why she just didn't run away.
Yeah. he,
He
he
let her
wasn't seeing me
go.
again.
Why would you come back? Like I would have came back.
Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she didn't know that was his intention. Because if my dad is like, okay, Fee, go have a good time for a few months, and then when you come back, I'm going to
I'm
kill
gonna
you.
kill you. Oh, you don't want me to come back. I got it. Weak, weak.
I would not come back. I wouldn't come back, But I mean, it's crazy. How can you sacrifice your daughter? Oh my God. So, but again, that just shows the lack of, because it's a story. Why wasn't it the son that came out of the house? Why wasn't it his son that came out? Or
Right. It ain't like he was doing dishes.
yeah, yeah, we know he was probably fighting the war as well, you know. But that's the Bible for you. That's the Bible, and those are Bible stories that we don't learn in church. Because
And that's another thing. There are a lot of Christians who are like, "Oh, I have read the Bible front and back," and I have to look at you because you read the whole thing and you still are down with what it says.
yeah, no way, no way. I will challenge any Christian that say they read the Bible from front to back to tell me what is happening in the book of Leviticus from the first four chapters. Because let me tell you something, that is the most boring thing in the world to read.
Right.
And side note, if God is against so many things, like, okay, first of all, in the Ten Commandments, there is no thou shalt not be homosexual, right? There is
Right.
no that's not in the Ten Commandments. But also, there isn't thou shalt not own slaves, thou shalt not rape, and thou shalt not, any of those other things in the Ten Commandments either. So why are we still following the Ten Commandments or trying to follow? I don't know if
And
I, and
they always go to the 10, but it was more than 10.
it was
They
more than
just
10.
disregard everything.
And that wasn't even the original 10.
Right.
That was because remember Moses destroyed the first 10. The first 10 had absolutely nothing to do with anything. The
It
first
took
10
them
were
how
all
long to
about,
get them in the first place?
yeah, the first 10 was all about rituals and don't boil a goat in his mother's milk and all this kind of food. The first 10 were all about rituals and festivals. It's the second 10 that they come up with that what we follow, what we call the Ten Commandments now. But no, and there's so many other bylaws and sub-laws that people don't talk about. 613. I'm in the
Right.
process of reading them all. It's ridiculous. The Bible is ridiculous. The first 5 books of the Bible is ridiculous, apart from the stories.
And I've literally heard people say, even on the parts that they know is wrong, well, God doesn't make mistakes, so if He says it, it must be okay.
Yep, it's
What?
crazy. Yeah. How messed up is your mind?
There's a guy. Well, not. Matter of fact, it wasn't just one guy. There's been a couple of people on Twitter who did a poll. If God told you to kill your child, would you do it? And they said, if He told me to.
Are you serious? Well, we know it's true because we know of people that have killed loved ones because they have sworn that they heard the voice of God telling them to do it.
Right. That lady
Mothers have
who
drowned
put her
babies.
kids, yeah.
Yeah,
She
I
put her
mean
kids in
it's
that car
happened.
and rode the car away.
Yeah, the mother that drowned, and poor things. These are women struggling with postpartum syndrome that's being undiagnosed, have no help, and they think they're hearing the voice of God, but no, it's just their minds, their hormones affecting the way that their mind is processing things, and they just have no help because, of course, we don't talk about things that affect women. We don't talk about postpartum syndrome. We don't talk about depression. We don't talk about mental illness that
Yeah,
affects
too.
women. And we don't do research into it. There isn't any financial support for it. And these women, because of their religious upbringing and their indoctrination, think they're hearing the voice of God and think they're doing the will of God. So it's ridiculous. I keep saying it. The less religion there is in this world, is better human beings will be.
I
And
literally
I
put
said
that
what I
on
said.
Twitter. I literally put that on Twitter earlier today because I was watching a YouTube channel, and this irritates the hell out of me because I'm tired of seeing it. I was watching a sewing channel. Sewing. What is religion doing in sewing? I don't
Right,
understand. I'm not here for the religion. I wanted to see the sewing. But I
right.
was watching a sewing channel, and this lady said she was working on a project and she wanted to give up on it. And she started to get depressed and everything. She said she went to sleep and heard the voice of God tell her to keep going. And she said God is the one who had her father to call her and brought her spirits back up. And she knew that the spirit of God was with her. And so she got up at 2 o'clock in the morning and started to finish the project she was working on. But here's the thing, this is what I tweeted. I said in her so called testimony, she literally said that she was going to therapy because of some issues she had. When you tie mental illness with religion, the religion escalates the mental
Yep.
illness.
So very true. So very true. It's, oh my God. And you know what, Sonny? Because of religion, so many people either won't admit, and I don't want to start a whole other conversation because I know it's time, but
Yeah.
just I know it's past time, but so many people will not admit mental issues or cannot even see that they have mental issues because of religion. And I'll tell you why I say that from personal experience. Everybody knows the scripture, be anxious for nothing, but in all things through prayer and supplication, make your requests known to God, and the God in heaven shall answer your prayer. You see that? Be anxious
I
for
think she
nothing.
said something like that too. Now that you brought that up, I think she did mention that.
You see that whole be anxious for nothing did not allow me to recognize that I had anxiety. I suffered from anxiety all of my life until maybe last year when I started doing more reading, certain habits that I have, certain things that I do. I'm like, what is this? And I started talking to a therapist online because I was really struggling. And then he brought it to my attention, Fee, these are all signs of anxiety. I've had anxiety since I was a child. I didn't know it as a teenager, and as a young adult, I couldn't admit it because be anxious for nothing. So obviously, if you're anxious, you don't have enough faith. You're not
Just pray
trusting
it
enough. You're not
away.
believing.
Right.
Yeah, you're not praying hard enough, and it's now I can admit it. Now I can see signs of it, and I'm okay admitting it. No, that makes me anxious. I'm not going to do it because I don't have to be afraid of somebody saying, "Well, be anxious for nothing, fee and important. Just pray, supplicate. God will hear you." So if God doesn't hear me and I'm still anxious, obviously it falls back on me. Obviously, I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I don't have enough faith. Maybe I'm not asking the right way. Maybe I didn't pray long enough. Maybe there's sin in my life, and it didn't allow me to recognize that no fee, it really is a mental disorder. You need to you have an issue, and that's why you have these coping mechanisms, and that's why you are the way you are about certain things. It's there's nothing wrong. You just have, and it led back to trauma, the religion, as you said, did not help the issue at all. It made it worse
Right.
because I suppressed it for so many years. And it just kept manifesting in little ways that I didn't recognize because I was being a faithful servant of God. And
And another thing too, the reason why I have the 800 number on the website for people who are non-religious is because I don't agree with the fact that there's so many um, therapists who are also religious will push the Bible in their
yes,
therapy
agreed.
sessions.
Agreed.
Like they'll
Agreed.
they'll literally tell them, "Well, did you go to church? Well, did you talk to your pastor? Your pastor is not a therapist. He's a
No,
pastor."
he's a pastor. Yep. Yep.
That's why I like watching Shannon Q.
Yeah.
She talks about psychology and things like that. and
I've learned so much
she
from
will
her.
she will go to bed with the so-called religious therapist.
Yep, she will. And she
They
knows her
don't have
stuff.
they don't have a degree.
She
She will
yeah,
get
she knows her
she,
stuff. They'll come around and she will say it in the nicest way because she's
right.
always very nice. She'll
Yeah.
say it with a smile in her voice and don't play with Shannon Q. Love her. Love her.
We love you, Shannon.
Yeah, we do. Big fans. uh, yeah, but you are right. Religion escalates mental illness.
Well, to the end of this show, even though religion and misogyny will never be a subject that we cannot touch on, but for this show, we have come to the end. And I want to thank Fiona for joining me as usual.
Always a pleasure. Always. I don't know where the time goes when we do this podcast. I don't where does the time go? I feel like we've been on here for 12 minutes. That's a random number. 12.
Right, a random number. But for everybody at home, just to reiterate one more time, not only is the 800 number on the website, but also the show notes will be on there as well as the links, books, resources. Just come on to secularminority.com and push that button that says resources, and you can check out that information. Secular Minority is also on YouTube if you want to see the visual as well as hear the podcast. Is there anything else that you wanted to say before we leave?
That's it for me for today. This is
All
good.
right.
I love it. Oh, I have
All
to tell
right,
you all about my
everybody.
Jehovah Witness letter next week. Remind me. Our
Yeah,
next
we can
show, I'll
get
have to
to
tell
that
you.
too.
Yeah, I need to tell you about my Jehovah Witness. I'm going to read it and tell you all about it. I'm psyched.
Okay. All right, for everyone, just remember you're special, you're loved, and you're stronger than you realize. Peace.
Bye.